Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Crossing the Line. Today we've got a few stories to look at. It's been a bit of a hectic week in the news, and it's basically the same as usual. Here in Australia, we're going to get off the first story here with a social media a link to the stabbing murders of two Melbourne boys. Now, if you weren't aware, a few days ago, making this probably about a week ago now, two young boys in Melbourne, Victoria, which is in the southern socialist dictatorship state in Australia, were cut down by a bunch of youths with machetes, knives, and all the likes. These two boys just got home, got out of their car, and they were set upon by this gang, and they were brutally murdered in the streets, running for their lives, and they were just 12 years of age and 15. Now, Melbourne is known for its knife crime at the moment. It is known for its totalitarian dictatorship, it being the most locked down city in the world during COVID. And yeah, things haven't really changed. They haven't got any better. They keep voting themselves into this. So I'm having a hard time feeling sorry for, anyone in Melbourne. I do feel sorry for these young boys and their families. Is obviously absolutely devastating. And it seems that this was orchestrated by a gang of boys that seem to obviously have something against these two young boys. It might have even been a mistaken identity. But this is emanating from the immigration problem we have here in Australia, especially in Melbourne, and people not conforming to the Australian way of life. I don't know about you, but Aussies aren't really known for their knife-wielding machete skills and hacking up people in the streets. That's more of a Somali kind of thing. And we have that issue in here in Australia. I mean, they've just spent like some ungodly amount of money on machete disposal bins in Victoria. And it doesn't seem to be working because people are still getting hacked up in the street. And sorry if it sounds a bit rude or crass, but, there's no tiptoeing around it. These kids were set upon by a gang of disgusting people that were obviously taught these behaviours by their parents, or, at least, given the ideology that these things are okay. Maybe it's because that where they came from, they brought that kind of ideology with them. That seems to be, the thing to do in Africa and those parts of the world, that if you come to another country, you bring your horrible ideology with you and you emanate it and you spread it around your local area. You mean these people are supposed to be fleeing these war-torn countries and seeking a better life here in Australia, and they seem to bring all their baggage with them. Now we're going to get into the story from news.com.au. Social media dissed link to stabbing murders of two Melbourne boys. Police say they're investigating a number of avenues as they hunt the killers of young boys Dow and Chol. I'm not going to try to pronounce their last names. I'll just do it a disservice. The Snapchat sticker may have been behind the stabbing deaths of two boys here in Melbourne, out of west, that has laid bare the city's youth crime crisis. Dow 15, Chol 12, were ambushed walking home from a basketball in Cobblebank on Saturday night by a gang of members armed with machetes. Police have said it appeared the brutal murders were targeted, but had to be stressed that the victims were not known members of gangs themselves. There has been an outpouring of grief among the boys' friends and loved ones who have called for the end of the senseless violence gripping Melbourne suburbs. Social media posts have been tagged with hashtag LLD and hashtag LLC, standing for long live Dow and long live Chol, respectively. And a petition calling for action on youth crime has been launched. Chat sites frequented by the people with knowledge of Melbourne's youth gangs have also seen claims emerge that they could have fueled Dow and Chol's deaths. It has been alleged that Snapchat sticker appearing to mock or diss another teenager who was fatally stabbed in the same part of the city last year may have played a role. News.com.au does not suggest either Dow or Chol were involved in that incident, and members of the online group have repeatedly referred to them as civs or civilians. There have been suggestions of boys set up before they were attacked on the Marble Drive around about 8 p.m. Victoria Police said in a statement, Homicide Squad detectives were following up on a number of avenues of inquiry. We continue to urge anyone with information about the incident those involved to come forward. It was revealed 12-year-old Chol was waiting for his mother to pick him up when he was chased and attacked and killed by 3 armed assailants. Dow died a few hundred metres away, allegedly at the hands of other members of the gang. A mother's grief. Chol's mum, Ariane Lowell, spoke publicly for the first time on Monday night in comments published in the fundraiser set up for his funeral. Chol was an intelligent and warm-hearted child who could light up the room with his smile and loving nature, she wrote. We remember him now, where he cared for those around him, especially his respect for the elders in his life. His sudden loss at the age of 12 has left us numb at the hole that we all know will never be filled, because Chol was truly a special person and so much life ahead of him. He was 12 years old. His friend was 15, and they were hacked to death by machete and knife-wielding thugs in Melbourne. Melbourne is a police state. It is run by a dictatorship, and it has been for some time now. These people in Victoria seem to enjoy it because they keep voting for it. They import the third world to the state, and then they carry on with their third world activities. Now, these kids were enjoying a night playing basketball, whether something occurred there at the basketball, and it's followed on here, I don't know. Obviously, the police are still investigating the matter. This is obviously not the first incident like this, and it will not be the last. Putting $300,000 machete deposit bins in front of police stations in Melbourne and Victoria aren't going to fix the problem. That is a fake gesture. That is just a way for the government to waste money, where they should be convicting people who are criminals and putting them away for a very long time. There is a massive epidemic of youth crime crisis here in Australia. It's happening in my state of Queensland. It's happening in just about every other state across the country. And it's not just immigrants coming to this country. It is people who have been here a while. These were second generation immigrants to this country. And I've got to say that it seems to be, some sort of racial bias where the crime is being committed by a lot of immigrants. It is happening here with natural-born Australians, obviously, but it's story after story and case after case where it is something to do with immigration. And the government seems to just ignore that fact because it's a hard pill for them to swallow, because they've built their entire regime here in Australia on multiculturalism. The lie that was sold to the public and has been swallowed by the Victorians and a lot of other people around the country. But Victoria is definitely the worst for it. They will say in the same breath that, immigration's a good thing, mass immigration's a good thing, we have all this room, but why isn't the government doing anything about our housing crisis and youth crime? In the same breath, they will do that. They will also whinge about people, not paying enough tax, and then whinge that they're paying too much tax and the cost of living's going up. It's a double-edged sword, pardon the pun, but the government is not going to help you here. We are not allowed to defend ourselves in Australia. We are allowed to own firearms. For you Americans that think we aren't, we are definitely allowed to own firearms. I have several firearms. They're always locked away in a safe, with the bolts kept separate, the ammunition kept separate, the keys are hidden, and the safe has to be bolted down to the concrete or weigh a certain amount in some states. Each state has a different gun law, but we are not allowed to carry them. We are allowed to use them for the purpose that is intended, whether it's hunting or target shooting or something along the likes. We are not allowed to use firearms for self-defense. We're not allowed to use pepper spray, tasers, or anything like that for self-defense. We have this kind of very vague ruling that we're allowed to defend ourselves with appropriate force. So say it's not necessarily equal force, it's equal to appropriate force. So if some 3 armed intruders break into your house with a baseball bat and you have a baseball bat to defend yourself, that would pretty much deem legal to do so, to the point where, if one of them was on the ground and unarmed and you hit them an extra time to make sure they didn't get up or something along those lines, and they made a complaint if they were left alive to do so, you could very well spend time in prison for defending yourself and defending your home. It's happened before. It's going to happen again. There was an incident with a samurai sword not too long ago, where a couple defended their home with a samurai sword and one intruder died. I believe that person is now sitting in jail. And yeah, it's pretty, disparaging. It's pretty upsetting that we can't even protect ourselves and protect our loved ones. I kind of, protecting your property, obviously you should be allowed to do that. It's a God-given right, whether you believe in God or not. It's, an essential right to human life is being able to protect yourself. You can't just stand there and, be stabbed, murdered, or shot and killed and all that kind of thing, or, raped and all those horrible things that people do. You shouldn't just be able to have to stand there and take it because you're worried about the law coming after you as a victim instead of going after the actual perpetrators. But here in Australia, we have been neutered. We have been it's not so much disarmed. We have more guns now in Australia than ever before. And, we don't have a gun violence issue. We don't have a gun violence problem. We do have, nut jobs. At the moment, there is a certain nut job running around the bush hiding from police called Desi Freeman, who thinks he's a sovereign citizen, probably believes the earth is flat. And, whether he was pushed to that by the government and the police, it seems to be probably that way. But he did shoot and kill 2 police officers and injure more. And he's still on the run at this point. And, those kind of people are a worry. Those kind of people do pop up in polite society, no matter where you are. They happen in the United States all the time. It happens in Australia. It even happens in places like Sweden. And, there's not much you can do about people who are going to go insane, or just fall off the deep end. But disarming the entire population of a country because a few outliers is absolutely absurd. And that's something that I'll never forgive the previous generation for, is, letting the government disarm us so badly. I mean, we do have, it's not even disarming us really. Well, we do have firearms. We do have, you can get licenses for semi-automatic firearms. I mean, pistols is a separate license. We have like AB class, which is like simple bolt action rifles, lever action rifles, things like that. Handguns is an absolute pain in the ass to get a handgun in Australia. You can do it. It's a lot of it's time consuming to get licenses and monetarily consuming. It costs a lot of money to get a firearm license and to buy firearm and ammunition in Australia, but we are still currently allowed to do so. They are clamping down on those firearm laws more and more every day, but there is a good conversation going on at the moment about like cases like this and about break and enters across the country where, we should be allowed to protect ourselves. We should be allowed to protect our loved ones and property. And do I ever think that the Australian people will, have the taste for self-defense and, deterring criminals, things like that? Highly doubt it, because, the most of the population of Australia lives in inner city places like Melbourne, which is actually, one of the most unsafe places. For the rest of the country, it's quite rural. We do need firearms for pest control and things like that in a lot of rural places, farmers and, people working with livestock like that, and they do need them. And trying to convince the soy latte drinking yuppies that live in inner city Melbourne that they should be allowed to open carry and defend themselves if need be. It's not going to happen. I don't see it happening in my lifetime unless we have some sort of drastic change. One of the best at Collingwood All-Stars All-Stars Basketball Club shared a tribute to Dow on Monday night, saying the 15-year-old was taken far too soon. Thank you to everyone who came to Collingwood to show their support tonight, the club posted on Facebook. We are thinking of everyone who's part of Dow's life. Coach Carl Morrell told the ABC that Dow was one of the best players in the state age group and dreamt of playing in the US. Mr. Morrell said Dow made a 4-hour-long trip twice per week from his home in Melton, inner city Collingwood, for training. I hope that that paints a picture of his dedication to the teammates, he said. Dow's father told media on Sunday that his son was a basketball player, not a criminal. Victorian Premier Jacinta Allen addressed the shocking act of violence at a press conference on Tuesday after meeting with the community leaders on Monday. Now, this is the person to blame. Jacinta Allen, she has castrated the state, castrated the police in that state to stop them from going after actual criminals, where they spend their time going after people who disagree with her, people who disagree with what the government propaganda is. They spend more time, money, and effort on people who say, naughty things on the internet than they do people who are hacking children to death in the streets. They spend more time and money on attacking people who have a differing opinion than they have spent time, energy, money on people who are murdering other people in that state. Victoria is a socialist dictatorship. It has been for a while. Since COVID started, it just ramped up. Dan Andrews, the ex-sitting Premier of Victoria, was well known and has just popped up in the news recently. Go and check out my last video on him from last week, where he was spotted at a supervillain summit in Tiananmen Square. I don't know if you remember what Tiananmen Square is famous for, but he was spotted there with Kim Jong-un, Xi Jinping, dictator from Iran, I forget his name, sorry, and Vladimir Putin. So, just rubbing shoulders with the most evil people in the country, and a simple premier from Melbourne is there whining and dining with them. Make that make sense to me. I don't know. There is absolutely more that needs to be done, she said. Yes, there is. You are the person. You are the one whose shoulders it fall upon to do something. Don't blame anyone else other than the people who committed the acts and your weak pussyfooting around of actual violent crime. In some parts of our community, there is an ongoing pattern of behaviour, and we have toughened bail laws to deal with repeat serious offending. It is absolutely clear we do not need more, and that is why I spent yesterday supporting communities who were grieving and listening to about what they think needs to happen next time in terms of the work and the action. Miss Allen said that the state machete ban, which came into effect last month, is making an impact. It's not making an impact. You can ban whatever you want to ban. It doesn't mean criminals are just going to hand them in. Banning machetes is like banning sticks. It's not going to work. People can get a machete, people can get a knife. It doesn't even need to be a sharp implement. You can hurt someone with your bare hands. It isn't the problem. Machetes aren't the problem. The people wielding them and the criminals wielding them are. They should be locked up. They should have been put in prison a long time ago for previous acts of violence and things like that. But they are let go because the police aren't allowed to, follow up on things that, end up causing issues like this. They have to be running around chasing Facebook criminals who said that they're going to a protest. Remember when they were dragging pregnant women out of their homes in their pajamas during COVID because they said that they wanted to attend a march for, against the mandates. And dragging pregnant women out of their house early in the morning because they said they wanted to go to a protest, which was completely legal. Victoria Police Commissioner Mike Bush said his back comments made by Senior Officer Inspector Graham Banks on Sunday that penalties for young offenders aren't in balance with what community expectations are or mine. An internal memo, Commissioner Bush said that these comments represented what many of us think. They are penalties which are being handed down in our courts to the worst youth offenders. There must be consequences for those who commit these crimes which drive fear in our community, but the home invasion and armed robbery or carjacking, he said, while Victoria Police will always respect the independence of the courts, I understand the frustration of the members. These kids would have been picked up before. Police will know these individuals when they find them. They will have a criminal history. They will have been let go by the court system before, and slaps on the wrists obviously haven't done it. They needed to be remanded into custody. They needed to be put in prison for murder for this case, and any time that they're caught shoplifting, fighting, attacking people, whatever it is, throwing rocks at cars from freeways, stealing cars, they get a slap on the wrist and they get let go, and it turns into this. This is what weak government and policing turns into. They go and attack people for wanting to wave flags. They want to attack people for, posting something on Facebook, but they won't go and attack the real criminals. They're too busy fining people for speeding fines, sitting in dark alleyways, hiding their speed camera from people, so they can't even, it's not even for safety at that point. They're just revenue raising. They attack every, minor crime like they attacked speeding fines and things like that, or, had massive big raids on criminal gangs, and they actually did it like they used to do with the bikies and things like that. You'd be able to nip that kind of shit in the bud, but they don't. They let it run rampant till it turns into something like this, and then they backpedal and say that the government's doing the wrong thing. It's not the police, and then the government says, "Oh, it's the police doing the wrong thing. It's not us," and then they just keep an endless circle going, and then they blame it on something else. And then anytime anyone mentions the color of their skin or where these people might have emigrated from, they're just labeled as a racist. And then the police will go and investigate that person who said that thing that could be deemed possibly racist. Pointing out statistical facts is not racist. It's got to the point where children are getting hacked up in the streets in, what people say is the most beautiful, epic city in Australia, or sometimes the world. They think Melbourne's one of the best cities in the world. People aren't getting hacked up in the streets in my city. I don't live in a big city or anything. I live in a small rural town. But that's not happening here. It's probably happened before. Probably end up happening again. But, that's not happening here. Do your job. You're the sitting premier, and you're coming out after the fact saying that this is shocking act of violence. Yeah, it's not shocking. It happens every day down there. There's drive-by shootings. There's a massive amount of organised crime for illegal tobacco because they've jacked the prices of tobacco up so high in Australia that no one can afford it. So an explosion of illegal tobacco. I think you get in more trouble for growing tobacco than you have for making meth or something in Australia. It's insanity. And the Victorian, government has just signed a deal with the Aboriginal leaders of that area, saying that they've formed a treaty, and so maybe they're just going to start blaming it on the Aboriginals because they're like, oh well, we're not in charge anymore. I'm pretty sure we had a referendum and we all voted no. That they spent nearly $500 million on, and we all voted no, and they're just doing it anyway, which. You go and watch my previous videos from, however long ago now, 12 months ago. I was telling you they would. And, yep, they have. And this is going to happen again. This is going to happen again soon. And Victorian people are going to keep voting for the same morons that they've got in government. What do you guys think anyway? Let me know down in the comments below. We'll get on to this next story. 19 people killed. Police opened fire in social media protest in Nepal. Now, if you haven't been following this ongoing story, breaking news by the hour there in Nepal, they have really lost the plot. It's a lot of people saying it's Gen Z, losing their shit over the social media ban there in Nepal. I didn't realize Nepal was going through a social media ban because, not much news comes out of Nepal, but here we are, 19 people killed. At least 19 people have been killed as police opened fire on protesters led by those in Generation Z who swarmed a capital city. Chaotic scenes have erupted across the streets of Nepal where 19 people have been killed after demonstrators violently clashed with police during protests against alleged government corruption and a ban on social media. Thousands of protesters led by those in Generation Z swarmed the capital city of Kathmandu on Monday, waving flags and unleashing chants against the social media prohibitions and corruption in one of the country's worst unrests in decades. The crowd swelled as it crossed the restricted area close to the parliament, with some climbing over the wall of the premises, prompting police to deploy rubber bullets, tear gas, water cannons and batons. Amnesty International says live ammunition has also been used against protesters who took part in the rallies in districts across the country. Police in Kathmandu Valley said 17 people died in the clash, with another 2 were killed in Sunsari district, eastern Nepal. Local media reported some 400 people were injured, including over 100 police officers, police said. The district administration imposed a curfew on several key areas of the city to bring the situation under control after protesters began to turn violent. I'm not even going to pronounce that name, Muktarian Rajal. A spokesperson for the Kathmandu district office told Reuters shocking photos and video footage of unrest show police firing tear gas, water cannons and demonstrators who pelted stones and set a police barricade alight. A violent clash came after the government blocked 26 unregistered platforms, making several social media sites, including Facebook, YouTube and X, inaccessible in the country since Friday. Now, if you're unaware that this is about to happen here in Australia, our social media ban is nearing closer and closer. The government is banned it for anyone under, I think, 16. And, our Generation Z kids do this? I doubt it. I don't even think they know it's going to happen. I haven't seen much on TikTok about it here in Australia. I mean, especially not from Gen Z. I think it's going to come around and blindside them that this ban is actually coming in Australia. It's already locked in. It's, weeks away now. And it's going to be very interesting to see how they integrate it, how they force everyone to comply with it. Apparently, the AI systems of these social media networks are going to figure out how old the person using it is somehow. I don't get how that's going to work very effectively because, those things aren't fallible. I mean, we see how much AI is shit at the moment still. Like, honestly, people hold it in high regard. I think it's just a really good search engine that lies to you a lot. You can see here, these kids really are not putting up with it. I mean, it's not just social media ban. They do have a communist government. The government said 24 social network platforms were given notice to officially register in Nepal. Officials said the block platforms have failed to register and submit to government oversight, which I think is what's going to happen here in Australia. I think if they're going to do that in Nepal and just ignore the government and just go, screw you, big... I think that's what they should do here in Australia. I know X is probably going to do that. I hope that, Elon stands up for free speech there because he doesn't let you say the N word or the F word on Twitter. Elon, do something about that. Every time I say anything remotely outrageous, I get a strike or a ban or fucking something. Fix that shit. Come on. I mean, the only thing I've seen on Twitter all day today is the murder of that poor Ukrainian woman in the US. And if that's all over there, I'm pretty sure people can put up with the F word or the N word or something along those lines anyway. The government said 24 social networks were taken down. Popular platforms such as Instagram have millions of users in Nepal who rely on them for entertainment, news and business. Home Minister Ramesh Lekak has resigned at the cabinet meeting on Monday evening following the line protest, local media reported. These guys aren't fucking around. I mean, I don't know where you get one of those big cable reels from, laying around, but yeah, they're not fucking around. Disturbing situation. Sirens wailed through the city as injured were taken to hospital during the protest. I had been there in a peaceful protest, but the government used force. Imam Magar, 20, who was hit in his right arm, told the AFP. It was not a rubber bullet, but a metallic one. It took away part of my hand. The doctor says I need to undergo an operation. Ranjana, Nepal information officer at the civil hospital has received many of the wounded. He said he'd never seen such a disturbing situation at the hospital. Tear gas has entered the hospital area as well, making it difficult for doctors to work, she told the AFP. Well, these police are getting pelted, man. Giving the Americans a run for their money. UN calls for a probe. The United Nations demand a swift, transparent probe of the violence. We're shocked at the killings and injuries of protesters in Nepal today and urge a prompt and transparent investigation. UN Rights Office spokeswoman Ravina Shamdasani said that in a statement, we have received several deeply worrying allegations of unnecessary or disappropriate use of force by security forces. Yeah, not going to lie, I'm not surprised. Want to see a change? Student Ikshama Tumrock? Something like that. Turok, the game. 20 said she was protesting the authoritarian attitude of the government. We want to see change. Others have endured this, but it is end with our generation, she told the AFP. There has been several corruption cases reported in the last few years involving ministers, former ministers, and other high-profile officials. Since the ban, videos contrasting the struggles of ordinary Nepalese with the children of politicians flaunting luxury goods, expensive vacations have gone viral on TikTok, which is still operating. How do you still let TikTok operate when you're banning Facebook, Instagram, and X? Maybe because it's a Chinese spy network? There have been many movements abroad against corruption, and they are afraid that might happen here as well, said the protester. Yeah. In a statement on Sunday, the government said it was respected freedom of thought and expression, was committed in creating the environment for the protection of unfettered use. Nepal has restricted access to popular online platforms in the past. The government blocked access to Telegram messaging app in July, citing the rise in online fraud, money laundering. Yeah, only the government's allowed to do fraud and money laundering, guys. Don't forget that. It lifted a 9-month ban on TikTok in August last year after the platform agreed to comply with Nepali regulations. Violent protests driven by discontent over inequity and lavish perks the lawmakers have rocked Indonesia in recent weeks. A year ago, a student-led popular uprising over job quotas ousted the long-time leader of Bangladesh. I'll go to X here, and you can, you can see they're not fucking around, man. Like, it kind of looks like AI, honestly. Yeah, maybe? I'm not sure. Anyway, um, yeah, well, you can see they are currently losing their shit and taking down communist flags. Good job. Good job, boys. Good job, girls. You guys are, standing up for yourselves. Unlike England, where you can get arrested for calling someone a muppet, apparently. Nepal is on fire at the moment. It's kind of crazy, actually. Yeah. The 19 people that have been killed is only going to fuel the violence. Killing protesters doesn't generally end well for the police. They are pretty much fueling the fires. I've seen reports that the police are now actually siding with the protesters, and I'm not going to show them on here, but there are plenty of videos on X where they're dragging dead politicians through the streets, throwing communist politicians into rivers, and it's gotten out of hand. It might even escalate further into a full-on civil war if the government doesn't get control, or I hope they don't get control. I hope these guys, stand up for themselves and take power and, bring in a democratic country where they're allowed free speech and we're allowed free thought. This is where Australia is going. It's I don't know whether Australia has the backbone to stand up for it, because I think that we have been sold down this river of socialist welfare, and I think too many people are too comfortable in Australia. And I don't think the government's ever going to let it get too uncomfortable for people to actually get to this point where they are going to protest in the street en masse, to the point where they are, killing politicians. It would not really be the Australian way to do that, and I don't think Australia's got it in them to even stand up and, hold a decent protest. I mean, we did have a decent protest the other week about the immigration and housing crisis problem. And, it was 99% peaceful. There was one little group of apparent Nazis who I think had just policed plants. And that happened in Melbourne, of all places. Who would have thought? But, peaceful protests. And it was just an event where family members get together and friends, and they, got out and protested for what they care about, which is their country, their freedom and their rights. Now, what do you guys think? Do you think a Gen Z in Australia is going to stand up for themselves like this generation has? Because I highly doubt it. And I think that they are just going to roll over and take it. There's going to be people getting around it with VPNs, things like that. The social media networks might not even go along with the government stepping on them and telling them what to do. They might just tell them to get screwed. And I think X is one platform that might do that. Facebook, Google and things like that, they're not really pro free speech, are they? But X isn't doing too well for free speech, in my opinion, anyway. Getting into a story from the New York Post, of all places, Greta Thunberg's Gaza flotilla was not hit by a drone, Tunisia says. No basis in truth. And I have seen the videos. They were not hit by a drone. They were hit by their own stupidity. And now they're claiming they were attacked again. I don't know how many times you can shoot a flare at your own ship. Maybe these vegans and idiots are just actually on the spectrum and they are disabled in the head. I don't know, but if you launch a flare directly up in the air, it's going to come down. When you're not moving, or you're not moving very fast, it might very well come down on you. And I believe that's what happened here. There's video on Twitter there. I can go and find that in a minute. But we'll get into this story with the New York Post. Greta Thunberg, the great messiah of propaganda for the eco terrorist group. I don't know what you want to call them, nut jobs. The fire on Greta Thunberg's Gaza-bound flotilla was likely started by one of the activists on board, according to authorities in Tunisia, who said there was no basis in truth that it was struck by a drone. Tunisia's Interior Ministry said there was no drones detected when Thunberg's global Samud flotilla claimed it was hit by one on Monday, starting a fire that was off the Tunisian port in Sidi Bou Said. The ministry maintained the group's claim that the drone attack started the fire, but has no basis in truth, that it was likely started on board, possibly from an activist's cigarette. The video that I've seen, they seem to cut it here, but this guy seems to fire a flare when he comes down here, and he seems to fire a flare, and I don't know whether he fired it directly up in the air and it hit like some of the rigging maybe, or I don't know, but it seems to just come crashing down onto the ship. It wasn't a drone from Israel. I don't think Israel really cares that much. If anything, it was a drone from the Houthi rebels or possibly Palestine. Like, fucking Greta, we don't want you. Go away. It'd be funny if that was the case anyway. But yeah, they're not going to fly a small commercial drone 2,000 kilometers across the ocean to drop a shitty flare or something on Greta Thunberg's derelict vessel. You know, like those drones have a range of like, maybe a kilometer or two. If anything, it'd have to come from one of their boats, maybe the island that they're up next to. It didn't come from Israel, you nut jobs on Twitter. Just letting you know. National Guard spokesperson, I'm not even going to pronounce that dude's name, also told oh my God, what is wrong with these names? Agence France Presse that no drones have been detected, that the preliminary findings indicate a fire broke out in the life jackets on board. Thunberg was one of the 20 on one of the 20 boats that deported from the Gaza Strip from Barcelona on August 31st in a flotilla Israeli officials have provided, previously described as publicly seeking selfie yacht cruise. That's pretty much what it is. I mean, look at this dude. He's got a one-piece shirt on. He thinks he's a pirate. I know, well, what the fuck is going on with the haircut? I don't know. The GSF posted dramatic footage. It aimed to show something falling on the ship from above. None of the 6 passengers and crew aboard the ship were injured, GSF confirmed. The flotilla of the international effort to break Israel's naval blockade of the embattled enclave and deliver humanitarian aid to Palestinians using civilian boats supported by delegations from 44 countries. The blockade has been in effect since 2007. Thunberg and the others promptly taken into custody and deported from to their home countries after Israeli authorities seized their aid ship during the previous attempt to break the blockade in June. So you can see the infrared or night vision footage there. If that was a bomb from an Israeli drone, as people are saying, or any drone, or an actual bomb in general, it wouldn't have just been able to be put out by, or just gone out by itself or put out by a few fire extinguishers. It would have actually blown up, We have seen some pretty drastic drones from Ukraine, shooting fire and thermite and things like that, but that's not what that is. That looks like a flare falling out of the sky, and it might have hit some sort of rigging off the boat or something. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe it's just fallen down due to gravity working, guys. What goes up must come down. There are ways to deliver aid to the Gaza Strip. They do not involve Instagram selfies, Israel's foreign minister said at the time. Before the departure last month, Thunberg claimed the GFSF flotilla was part of the global uprising of people standing up to the atrocities in Gaza. Gaza aid flotilla carrying Greta Thunberg reports second drone attack on the boat in Tunisian port. They're doing it again. I don't know. This is just a really badly veiled attempt at, saying that Israel attacked them. They're nowhere near Israel. They're near Tunisia. It's thousands of kilometers away by the looks of it. I haven't measured it exactly. It's a long way away. You're not flying a little, even $2,000 drone across the ocean to drop a bit of fucking thermite or something on Greta. International Aid Initiative Global Samud Flotilla has said one of its boats was attacked by a drone in Tunisia. Said Sidi Bou Said port, the second such reported strike in 2 days as GSF has been seeking to break Israel's naval blockade and deliver humanitarian aid to war-torn Gaza using civilian boats. I don't know what kind of humanitarian aid they have on board. It'd probably all vegan-friendly, maybe, like lab-grown meat, maybe some encheta paste or a cheetah, or whatever they call it, encheta? I think it's encheta with crickets ground up. Who knows? But, I'm sure Greta's got, plenty of people on there taking care of her. I'm sure she's fine, guys. Don't worry about Greta because we need her, don't we? Do we? No, I don't think we do. We're going to have a look at the map, though. So, this is Tunisia. That's Israel. That's the matter. Oh, remember Benghazi? Hillary Clinton? Remember Benghazi? Yeah, so the port of Tunis... sorry. It's here somewhere. Yeah, so the ship's left here through the Gulf of Tunis. By the looks of it in the video, there's an island nearby with plenty of lights on it. It might be this island or this island here. There might be some more there that aren't on this map. I'm not sure. Hell, it could even be over here. But might be off this island here. Maybe these ones. Wasn't Malta, that's for sure. Yeah, but look how far away. Like these are the international borders. So, and it said it was in the Tunisian waters. So it had to be in this area here. So it couldn't even have been that island for that. So they might have been down here for some reason. Who knows? I don't know what kind of stupid voyage they're doing. Some gay vegan cruise, whatever they're partaking in. But yeah, if they're leaving here, might have been that island just there. That's what I'd say it was. So if it's coming from anywhere, it's coming from probably that island, maybe the mainland from there. It would have to be a decent drone. But it's not coming from Israel. That's my point. Is they're not flying a cheap, nasty drone. What are we doing here, man? They're not flying a cheap, nasty drone from Israel across the Mediterranean Sea to Tunisia. So I don't know about you, but I highly doubt Israel was doing that. Unless there was some sort of Israeli on the mainland or on another boat. Honestly, these guys are that dumb and retarded. I would put it on themselves more than some sort of, it was the Jews conspiracy. I don't know. GSF reported first attack on Tuesday, saying one of the vessels had been struck by a drone in Tunisian waters. Tunisia's Interior Ministry said the reports of a drone hitting the boat on Tuesday had no basis in truth and that the fire broke out on the vessel itself. The group said the British flag Alma sustained fire damage to its top deck and an investigation is underway. In a later posted image, it was said the charred electronic devices were recovered on the deck. Let's have a look, see if that pops up, eh? It doesn't look like a part of a drone to me. Like, is that a life jacket with something like explosive debris? Oh, no. Jesus Christ. These people are trying to take you for what you're worth. Francesca Albanese, UN Special Rapporteur for the occupied Palestinian territories, posted a video burning Alma, said it indicated a drone attack. The video evidence suggests a drone with no light, so it could not be seen. Oh, so they couldn't see a drone, but it was a drone. Okay. We're going to have a look at these videos here. I've saved it somewhere, maybe, possibly, replies. Oh, I'm not sure. Yeah, here we go. Zionists claim the fire was started by a cigarette. This Israel exposed moron. And the screaming's fantastic, by the way. I don't know if you've heard it yet, but it's a flare of something or something. I don't know. It's not a bomb. That's for damn sure. It's not a bomb. And yeah, so this is where it looks like they have shot a flare. Now, yeah, all right. So keep an eye on this guy here, or this area here. It kind of looks like, I don't know if you ever used a flare, but you can get those flares where you pull the, pen flare kind of thing. You pull that out and it shoots a flare out. Keep an eye on that. So you can hear something go shh. Maybe possibly firing a flare that makes that noise. And then gravity kicks in. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think it was a drone from Israel dropping a bomb on them. Just saying. I don't think it was a drone from Israel. I don't know about you, but there's more footage here. Shocking footage there, by the way. I don't think Israel really cares that much. I mean, they're going to be turned around or, captured just like they were last time by the Navy, and they're not going to pose a threat to Israel or Palestine or anything like that. What Israel is doing in Palestine is fucked up. There are kids starving to death, and it's not good on either side. Do I care, though, being here in Australia, thousands of miles away? No, not really, because I have bigger problems here at home. I have my own children to think of, and I wish they'd just get it over. I wish they'd hand back the hostages. I wish Israel would stop bombing the rubble and killing heaps of children and starving them out. But at the end of the day, I really don't give a shit, because we have our own problems here, and as far as I'm concerned, you can wall off the entire Middle East and flood it and turn it into an inland ocean. I don't care. This is just a media propaganda apparatus, and we all know what Greta's famous for is being a shill for her or anyone else's cause. I remember when she was, pro, or anti-energy and pro going green and solar power and veganism and, get rid of all the cows because they are fighting and they are destroying the ozone layer. I should be in school, not here lecturing you, or whatever the hell it was. But no, now she's become a terrorist sympathizer and just like sailing around on lesbian vegan cruises, I suppose, shooting flares at themselves. I don't know. What do you guys think anyway? Do you think Israel bothered to bomb them? Do you think it was their own stupidity, which is what I think? Or do you think it might have been some sort of, funny motherfucker hiding in the bush on an island there, just going, let's see if we can drop this on Greta. Maybe it was that. Who knows? But we'll see how it goes anyway. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next episode. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.